Sam Dolly here, and tonight I'm going to talk to you about the NFC side of training camp previews and predictions, and I'm going to start with the NFC North. And a year ago, Aaron Rodgers had some injury problems at the end of last year and into the championship game. Was pretty healthy for that, but he was banged up against the Cowboys in the divisional round. So this is pretty much a foregone conclusion. Unless Aaron Rodgers isn't healthy, the Green Bay Packers will run away with that division again. It's a division that saw two teams make the playoffs last year. I think we could see that again this year. The Green Bay, like I said, the Green Bay Packers will run away with the division if Rodgers is healthy. He's honestly the J.J. Watt of the offensive side of the ball, in my opinion, and that's Aaron Rodgers. He's the reigning MVP. He does so many great things for Green Bay. I like that Eddie Lacy gives them a power back, gives them somebody that they can lean on when Rodgers isn't 100%. Their defense is probably their weakest. It is probably the weakest part of their team. It was pretty good last year. It needs to be even better this year if they want to make it to the Super Bowl. They choked away the championship game. The botched onside kick with Bostic. And we could talk about the Seattle Seahawks choking at the Super Bowl on the goal line. It's kind of like, obviously it's not like that for Green Bay, but it's kind of a similar situation. How do they recover from that? How do they... Does it drive them? It's going to drive them to be better this year. I know Mike McCarthy surrendered play calling duties, or at least I believe he has. Last time I checked, last time I heard that Mike McCarthy was going to let Aaron Rodgers call the plays, and that's how it should be. Mike McCarthy should not be calling any offensive plays. He's like, he's really, to me, I still don't understand having an MVP quarterback and not letting him go for a goal line situation early in that game, in the NFC Championship game. They had opportunities to blow Seattle out. They picked off Russell Wilson 4 times and they didn't win. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know that. I just don't know how that happens. They were amazing at Lambeau. That's not going to change. It's a tough place to play. I don't think they'll blow teams out like on a regular basis like they did last year. That was typical. That's what you're supposed to do though when you're playing at home against some inferior competition, some superior competition. You're supposed to win no matter who you play, time you play, when you play. You gotta win at home. You gotta win your home games. They are a Super Bowl contender. The Packers are. Again, how far they go depends on the health of Rodgers and how well the defense plays. As for the rest of the division, I'm gonna just say this about the Chicago Bears. They got a good hire in John Fox. He's the only coach that I know of in recent memory to take 2 separate franchises to the Super Bowl. I don't think he should have been fired in Denver. I think he should have seen that out. Obviously, Denver chose to go in separate directions. Jay Cutler's his quarterback, and I'm just going to go ahead and say this. Cutler's got the talent to be a franchise quarterback. I just don't know if he has the leadership qualities that you're looking for. He's tough. He takes a beating year in and year out. Their defense was horrible last year. Too much of the blame went on Cutler. But some of the blame is on Jay. He's gotta step up. He's gotta show that he can carry the team, and he has a big arm. He's pretty accurate in consistency. He's inconsistent still at being accurate. But the Bears did make it to an NFC Championship game with him as their quarterback. Now, I didn't hear anybody complaining about him then. But I guess that's what happens when you lose. You get the bulk of the blame, and yeah, it's kind of like, seriously. I mean, he's guys like Andy Dalton and Cutler and Tannehill, and even 39-year-old Peyton Manning still has a job because the quarterback pool at the collegiate level is just really, really shallow. There's not much out there. You could be in a worse. Bears fans should be really glad they're not in a situation like Cleveland or Houston, where they're still kind of like, oh, I don't know if we have the quarterback of the future on our roster. Their defense was terrible last year. I think John Fox is a good defensive coach. He'll fix that up. Matt Forte is a very underrated running back. Then getting rid of Brandon Marshall could help them. I mean, I love the draft pick of Kevin White. That was a huge pick. It really was. It was a huge pick. It gives them some. It's clear as day that Alshon Jeffrey is the number one guy over there in Chicago. Brandon Marshall, kind of like Cutler, you kind of feel like maybe they're locker room cancers. Maybe it's Marshall. Maybe there's something going on behind the scenes. I mean, we as fans don't see what goes on behind the scenes, what goes on in the locker rooms, and a culture of each team. But Chicago is, if Chicago does what Dallas did last year, taking the ball out of Cutler's hands and running it more, they've got a good shot to have a nice season. I don't think they make the playoffs because I don't think their defense is all the way good enough to keep them in ball games. But Cutler cannot be asked to throw 400, 500 times a game. You've got to run the ball. You got to set him up for play action. He's not a bad option in that situation. Although he has got the reputation of a coach killer, he's got to make it work with John Fox. If they don't get 8-8, I'd say this year, they got to let go Cutler, cut their losses, and just try and make do with a young quarterback. That's hard to do, but you might have to. You might have to do it. The Detroit Lions lost a lot. Well, they lost to Dominican Sue. Their defensive tackle situation now is a whole lot different. I think their defense is okay. They got former Texan Glover Quinn. He's a heck of a secondary player. He's a heck of a safety. They didn't really add much, but they couldn't because they cap stripped by Dominican Sue's contract, Calvin Johnson's contract, and Matthew Stafford's contract. They drafted Amir Abdullah. I don't know if he's an every down back. Yeah, he's a good running back. It's a good running back to have. Matthew Stafford has to. They came so close to winning their first playoff game in quite some time. That call that was ended up overturned, reversed. Sorry, where the flag was picked up, that was ridiculous. But it wasn't. They had their opportunities to win in Dallas in that game. They had the game. They lost it. Calvin Johnson's got to be healthy. I like the receiving core with him and Tate. Tate's a good number 2 guy. He takes the pressure off of Calvin. But yet they still rely on Calvin Johnson too much. They've got to spread the ball around. They got to get young tight end Eric Ebron involved in the offense. They've got to get the running game going. And they've got to continue to play defense. Jim Caldwell he's an average coach. But I think they're a playoff contender. I don't think that, I'm having a hard time between them and Minnesota because I think they're both on even terms. Like, I think they're both evenly average as teams. I don't think, when I look at Minnesota, Bridgewater's entering his second season. They got Adrian Peterson back. For how long, I don't know. Is he going to be the Adrian Peterson before the suspension? Because don't forget, he's 30 years old and he is a running back. Running backs generally don't do well past the age of 28. He's got that challenge of being that superstar that he was before the suspension. And then there's, I mean, their defense is pretty good. Mike Zimmer's a good defensive-minded coach. Mike Wallace he's a nice option at wide receiver. I don't think he's the number one guy. They still need to look possibly the draft for a legit number one receiver. But it gives Teddy Bridgewater a nice target in the open field. Bridgewater's a heck of a young quarterback. I'm still baffled that he fell as far as he did in the draft in 2014. He's smart. He knows when to run, when to get down. He could take a beating. I mean, he still needs to get he still needs to get bigger. But I think his smarts. His smarts will absolutely keep him. He's kind of like a robotic quarterback. He doesn't make the wrong play. Kind of feel like that's what Houston needed. I don't think it was the number one pick. I don't think he was the number one pick type quarterback. But I think he was worth trading back into the first round. Even in Cleveland, you need a quarterback that's not going to lose you a ball game. He strikes me as the kind of quarterback that will not lose me a ball game because he's so smart. Again, he's got to be able to. He had a good first year, a good rookie year. Now he's got to take the step forward and try and get them into the playoffs. I'd probably give them the edge over Detroit just simply because of the running game. I think Adrian Peterson is still capable of being a superstar, excuse me. I think Mike Zimmer is a little bit of a better coach than Caldwell, and I think Bridgewater, and I actually think Bridgewater is a better quarterback because Stafford is a stronger quarterback. Bridgewater is a lot smarter. I feel like there are games that I think the Lions lose because Stafford's such a gunslinger, takes so many chances. His numbers are pretty good, but Bridgewater is gonna make the play. He's gonna make the right play. He's gonna rig the defense. He's not gonna put you in a position where you're just giving away games. Like I said last year, he's a rookie. He was learning, on the fly, on the job. He was actually sitting behind Matt Castle. I don't see any of these teams unseating Green Bay. As long as Aaron Rodgers is healthy, Green Bay will win that division with 13 or 14 wins. I've got. This is what's hard for me because it's like I'm gonna go with Minnesota at 9-7. I think they take a step forward. I think they get into the playoffs. I think they're the 6th seed, the second wildcard team. I think Detroit will go either 7-9 or 8-8. I think they'll take a step back this year. I don't know how good that running game is going to be, and you need a running game. Running backs are getting. People say running backs are not important. Yes, they are. They control the tempo of the game. You control the line of scrimmage. You don't have Stafford's not an elite quarterback. He's a good quarterback. When you don't have an elite quarterback, you need an elite running attack. It's kind of how the Houston Texans survived with Schaub as their quarterback because he was a good quarterback before the whole 2013 thing. But Stafford he's another Matt Schaub. He's a good quarterback. He'll never be elite, but you need somebody that can take the pressure off of him, that can run it 20 to 30 times a game and help you control the line of scrimmage, which is why a guy like Eddie Lacy comes in handy, like Le'Veon Bell. Those guys control the line of scrimmage. You can essentially control a game by running the ball. You cut the game in half essentially because you're running. You eating clock. You're taking away possessions from the other team. I'm not sold on Detroit, and I'm not sold on Chicago. I think Chicago will win 7 or 8, about 7, 7, 9, 8, and 8. Their defense, Chicago's defense is terrible. I don't think they did anything at all to improve themselves in free agency, and I don't think they. I mean, they got Jay Cutler another wide receiving target. Well, that comes in handy when you're giving up 50 point, when you're down like 50-17 or something, because our defense is just not good. The best defense in this division is probably. Funny thing about this division, there's not a team that has an overly dominant defense. They have good defenses, but not a defense that makes you go, okay, that team, if they get like 21-0, it's over. You know, I mean, obviously with Rodgers, it kind of, if the Packers are up 21-0, you're probably done. You're already in a world of trouble to start with, because shutting him down is not easy to do. It can be done, it's just not easy to do. But I just, again, it's health. Healthy Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay takes that division. 13-14 wins. But I do think Minnesota squeaks into the playoffs. The NFC's really, I think the NFC North is they're behind the NFC West in terms of strength of division, but I still think the NFC East is the most competitive. It's not necessarily the strongest. And we talk about strength of divisions. We're talking about how many contenders, how many teams could come out of that division, make it into the playoffs, and do damage. Well, to be honest with you, I think Green Bay has. Green Bay and the NFC North has 2 teams that can make the playoffs, but only 1 team that can really do any real damage in the playoffs. But we'll see. You know, it'll be interesting to see how well Bridgewater plays the second year. But I do think he's the second best quarterback in the division. That's a huge. I can't believe he. I can't believe he fell. I can't believe he fell to 32. And I can't believe the Seahawks made that trade. I'm so mad. I was hoping that he'd be there at 33 in 2014. Oh man, to come to my Texans, but it didn't happen. So Minnesota got a jam. They got a jam of a quarterback, and they got a nice future. They got a nice future out of them. They got to find a running back though to take over for Adrian Peterson, because he's not going to play much longer. He's 30 years old. You don't know how much gas in the tank he's got left. But, we'll see. This has been Sam Darley breaking down the NFC North. Thanks for watching.